Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Good afternoon, Dr. Ng and Dhamma brothers and sisters. Today we have lesson 7 with us, Ānāpānasati.
Okay.
Dr. Ng will start with answering some questions if you have any.
Okay, good afternoon. So continuing to the questions and answers that were written to BF, I will answer according to the tetrads. I think for the second tetrad, somebody asked what is perception and how is it different from mental formation. So we will ask you to look at the MN44 and MN43. But just to say this, that let's say you look at this, the perception is black, right? Yeah? Or the pen. So when you contact this, first is the perception that it is a board writer. So you think, you then have a mental formation that this is a blackboard writer. So this is perception and mental formation. Feelings towards it may be neutral because there's nothing very exciting about this blackboard writer. But of course, some people may like red. They're very delighted with red. So they might have a feeling of delight or pleasure. So perception and mental formation, they are unified. Feeling, perception, consciousness, mental formation are in a concordance. And they are not disunited. They come together in concord. So it comes very quickly. So the 4 aggregates comes very quickly. So this is to answer the question on perception and mental formation. But to elaborate further, please go into MN44 and 43, which will explain very clearly perception, mental formation, feelings. Right. Then we go on to the other one who says that it's difficult to gladden the mind. I find very tensed. Now the first tetrad is to quiet the body, right? Then you have bodily formation, tranquilization. Then the second tetrad is to quiet the mental formation. If the body and the mental formations are quiet down, then you will be able to experience the mind and it naturally gladdens. It can be augmented by volition in saying, breathe in, gladden. But if you are able to quiet down the body, quiet down the feelings, then you will be able to experience the happy mind, which is our inheritance. You have to quiet. So that's why they said the bliss of seclusion. The bliss of seclusion allows you to quiet your body and quiet your feelings so that you can experience the bliss of seclusion in your mind. So you require to optimize the conditions before you get into the tetrad 3. So then you will be able to gladden the mind. It is a progressive development. It is like you experience the mind, and when you experience it fully, you'll find joy in it. And then, if you augment it, then you gladden it. But if you do not need to augment it, it will flow. A gladdened mind is the prerequisite for a concentrated mind. The concentrated mind has two factors, and that is serenity and non-dispersal of what you are doing. So you require serenity. So this method that the Buddha taught is an entirely pleasant abiding. It doesn't give you a sort of like you concentrate on a samatha object and you concentrate with a lot of effort. Here in the progressive steps of Ānāpānasati, in the 4 tetrads, the Buddha lead you to a place that is easy and pleasant, requires your diligence and effort. That's all. So in the feelings, so we say, we have done the mind objects, and you all ask mind objects. So correct, the person who says that mana is the mind base is correct. And what I'm saying is that the third foundation is citta. If you look into the Ānāpānasati Sutta, MN118, and look at its translation, experiencing the citta is 9. Okay? What we are doing, what we did last week was 6 sense base. So 6 sense base, we talk about the sense bases, the sense objects, and the sense consciousness. In the 6 sense bases, we say is the sayala yatana. Now these are bases. So the mind base, mana, okay, experience the Dhamma, which is the 4th foundation. So we say the mind base is separate from the mind objects, is separate from the Dhamma. Because people experience mind objects and they think that these mind objects is the mind. So I'm trying to explain that the mind base is separate from the mind objects. In the Citta, in the Mahasatipatthana, Dika Nikaya 22 or Majjhima Nikaya number 10, it says very clearly, very clearly, the Citta with its 16 kinds of Citta. I use the word mind states because I thought it's easier for you all to understand. But you do not need to use the word states. You can say the mind of lust, the mind of non-lust, the mind of hatred, the mind of non-hatred, right? The mind of delusion, the mind of non-delusion, the constricted mind, the distracted mind, the elevated mind, the not elevated mind, right? The surpassed mind, the unsurpassed mind. Then we have the concentrated mind and the not concentrated mind. And we have the liberated mind and the not liberated mind. So there are 8 unwholesome and 8 wholesome. So it is that the mind objects frequently affect the mind, because if you have a lustful mind object, you will have a lustful mind, right? Huh? And a lustful mind will also have a mind of hate, because these two are both sides of the coin. If you want something very badly, you have lust, but if you cannot get it, you have hate. But in the center, you have moha, because you think there is someone experiencing both the lobha and the moha, and the dosa. Lobha and dosa, moha. So the person who experiences lobha also has dosa, also has moha, all intertwined. Of course, the lobha and the moha, the dosa and the moha. At one time, it is the lobha, but underlining, undercurrent, if without the acquisition of the lobha, the person has dosa. So the person with lobha usually will have dosa, and they both have moha. So it's only when you do not have moha that you do not have lobha and dosa. So this is a natural development. The unwholesome states of distracted and constricted. When you want so many things, your mind is constricted. And when you have so many things, you are distracted. How can that mind be elevated? How can that mind be concentrated? How can that mind be liberated? So all these are 8 unwholesome states of the mind. So this is where we say. Another question was that, how can we say that the 5 aggregates are not mine, not I? Because we feel the feelings in ourselves. So we feel that they are the feelings in me, feelings as I, self. But if you see them detached, you see them changing, you cannot control the movement of the feelings. If you are detached, you can see that the feelings arise and cease, arise and cease. Beyond your control. If it's beyond your control, it's not yours, not I, not self. Similarly, for the other 4 aggregates, it's depending on conditions. So it is depending on conditions that such feelings arise. So most of the time, we would want you to look at feelings clearly because we have a body and we have a mind. But it is our feelings that push our mind around and around and around. So it's important that you know feelings. If you are quite disturbed by 5 aggregates, all you have to do is to look at your feelings. If you can look at your feelings very clearly, it arises and ceases, then it's enough. Because feelings are the origin of craving. Without the being pushed here and there by your feelings, then you won't be pushed by your craving, because your craving origin is feeling. So the most important, no need to be confused by the 4 aggregates of feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. They come together. They 4 of them are born together. Okay, one will go with the other, but you just need to know your feelings well. The others, perception, mental formation, consciousness, each may come outstandingly, but most of the time it's the feelings that come and then drag you around the nose. Whether you like it and you want it, whether you don't like it, you have to move away from it. So we are not in the middle, and the Buddhist path is the middle path, not to go either way. So it's very important to see that. So the other question that says is that the 2 spiritual experiences that he had. So the mind-body, he felt that that was the soul. So I asked the person to look at Dika Nikaya number 11, Khemaka Sutta, and MN118. Very easy, right? 11 and 77. Both of these says very clearly about the mind-body. In Khemaka Sutta, Dika 11, this is where the monk went to the Brahma world in his mind-made body to the different levels of the heavens to ask, where do the 4 elements cease? Right, yeah? And finally, Brahma tells him, you have done a disservice to yourself that you bypassed the Buddha and went to ask me, because I do not know where the 4 elements ceased. Now, this person is able to create a mind body to go to the higher levels. This shows that even with the great concentrative power, he does not have the wisdom to have destroyed the defilements. He still do not know. And so he came back and asked the Buddha. And the Buddha says, you put the question wrongly. It should be, where do the four elements have no footing? And when they have no footing is where the consciousness is immeasurable. So this is the Digha Nikaya 11. And then MN77 also says the mind make body. The body, the mind body can be like introduced into the body like into the sheath, the scabbard of the sword, like the sword going into the scabbard. So this is a strong concentration ability. That means the person who can do this has very strong concentration. And this, the Buddha himself also used the mind body to go to the heavens to teach. The 33, there are different suttas which say that he went to teach in his mind body. And even Venerable Ananda asked him, did you go with your elements? And then he says, sometimes. And so we know that even in this world existing, there are beings with great psychic powers, with great concentration, who can produce the mind bodies and travel. And so there was a video show, I think it was in China. So there was this particular person who was able to transport two other guests across the river. And you can see the pointed, at the point of that was the tip. So here this we only know that this ability of creating a mind body is through concentration and a tendency that this person has learned. And where has it learned? My earliest encounter of astral body was in the Tibetan stories of Lobsang Rabang. And so in the Tibetan, depths of the Tibetan where they are not distracted, they can practice this mind-body creation. But now there is handphone everywhere. The young monks are distracted. It's now very hard for them to have this similar. So sometimes this mind-body, and when you meditate, you get into it, it may be a previous inclination and practice, and it is by sure concentration. But the Buddha says you do not require psychic powers. In fact, he says psychic powers are detestable because you do not depend on psychic powers to realize. So he has said very clearly. He says that the monk who rose in the air to get the plate from the top of this bamboo, he says it's like one who has exposed his loincloth. So he tells the monks, do not show off your psychic powers. Then with the other first spiritual experience was the huge radiance, etc. So you can read the 9 abodes of beings. And sometimes you may be a Theravadan now, but previously a Mahayana, and those mind memories are embedded behind your mind screen. And sometimes it just pops up, and then you experience them again. That is why the Buddha asked us not to see too many shows, because we keep a lot of impacts of what we see in our memory, and sometimes it pops up into our mind. So I think I roughly answered the questions, and I will proceed to today's topic. And today's topic is about mind objects, because the fourth tetrad is about Dhamma, and the Dhamma is said to be mind objects. Saying it to be mind objects is easier for us to practice. Now, mind objects is the same category of sense objects. And what are the sense objects? The sense objects are sight, sound, taste, touch, right, smell. So if you can experience the sound as impermanent, you can also experience mind objects as impermanent. So you must link them together, not to be so caught up that these mind objects are mine, I'm laden with it. So we talk about the 5 aggregates of clinging. These 5 aggregates of clinging are also mind objects. They have this clinging there. And sometimes I think some of you tells me that I, for no whatever reason, I have sadness. And I have no sadness to, I'm not attached to anyone at the moment, or even those who have passed away, but there are sadness. We have been in samsara for a long, long time. There are aggregates of clinging may be unexplained. If it pops up, see them, and then you see them as mind object. Because there's so much clinging to something that can actually impermanent, you cling so much on it, there is a clinging and a craving and an intention. If you cannot see it moving, because if you cannot see clinging moving, you found yourself stuck in it. So you must be able to not dwell in it, but by scanning, because clinging is like clinging with your arms and your legs, but craving is in the heart. So you should move and check, is there craving in the heart? And craving in the heart is also intentions. And so you check in your head, is there mental formations? So you check, so you don't sort of stuck in your limbs. You will feel that, at the end you might be tired because you do not know, ignorance, you are holding on, grasping. So that's why the Buddha said grasping. So it's important to see the clinging, the craving, and the intention, so that it moves. You do not dwell in one place. When you are able to see it move, so he always says, breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out allows you to uncling from your clinging. If that doesn't help, because if this doesn't help, then you need to move to the other mental formations of craving in the chest or in the head. So you see, ignorance, volition, craving, clinging, the 5 aggregates of clinging, you can sense it as a mental formation. So we say, experience the mental formation as a mind object. Clinging, craving. These things, it may be too nebulous for you to see, but you can see volition. So this is what is important to do, how to uncling. Because it has been so, there's so much keeping it down, then you need to unravel it, right? Okay. So now today is about 5 hindrances and the 7 factors of enlightenment. You notice that the Bojjhanga Sutta, right, it tells about the hindrances and the 7 factors of enlightenment together. Okay, so that you can sort them out once and for all. To see them as mind objects is important. So we have said that the unwholesomeness are the 5 hindrances, and the 5 hindrances and the 5 aggregates of clinging. Right? 5 hindrances, 5 aggregates of clinging, these are unwholesome. Right? The 6 sense base are just neutral. We just endow with the 6 sense base. Then we have the 7 factors of enlightenment. These are wholesome. So the Buddha gives us the mind objects to work on. The 5 hindrances and the 5 aggregates of clinging are unwholesome. The 7 factors of enlightenment are wholesome. So you need to develop the wholesome. Now, why did in the Noble Eightfold Path, he talked about right effort? When you say right effort, you have to do P-A-C-K, pack. You have to pack your things well before you go to school, whatever, before you start this whole thing, you must make sure you want to prevent unwholesome. You want to prevent unwholesome things from happening. And if there is, you want to abandon unwholesome. And then you want to continue with the wholesome. And you want to keep growing the wholesome. So this is right effort or right strivings. This is right, okay? This is right because this is the Noble Eightfold Path, the right path. And so you have to remove your unwholesome, remove your 5 hindrances, remove your 5 aggregates of clinging. And you have to develop the 7 factors of enlightenment. The 7 factors of enlightenment are wholesome. Now, when you say 7 factors of enlightenment, you get, wow, enlightenment. No, it's like a big thing that is very far away. So, is it a big thing and very far away? No, we have been practicing it. So, the 7 factors of enlightenment are mindfulness. So, we have practiced mindfulness and we have practiced investigation. And we have practiced energy. When you strive, you need to have energy. And then you have rapture, which you experience in the second tetrad. Then you have tranquility, concentration, and equanimity. These are 7 factors of enlightenment. He says that if you develop these 7 wholesome factors, it will allow you to have clear vision because it's equanimity, it's clear vision. So he says 5 hindrances, we have said before, the 5 hindrances are last. Okay, we want to say what nourishes ignorance. Hindrances nourishes ignorance. And there are other conditions that bring about hindrances. And what bring about the hindrances is this highly misbehaving uncle. Okay? And what started it off is this. When you have evil, you mix with evil company. We have said that the mind object will affect the mind states. If you mix with evil, you become evil. Okay? So you do not want to mix with evil. He says down here, evil friends. I don't consider friends and evil together. So I just said evil. There are people who encourage evil things, unwholesome things, who break the 5 precepts, etc. Then, because you have evil friends, you do not listen. Listen not to the Dhamma. Right? And you lack faith. Because you don't listen, you lack faith. If you lack faith, you have careless attention. Careless attention, you have no mindfulness. No mindfulness, you are unrestrained. And when you're unrestrained, you misconduct yourself in body, speech, and mind. And so you develop the 5 hindrances of lust, hatred, sloth, torpor, restlessness, worry, and doubt. So all these feed hindrances, and hindrances will obstruct your view, and you cannot see clearly because you have no equanimity. Equanimity, you see, you need to see clearly. So we have said before, lust. Lust is like, this mind object lust, it will affect. When you see something, what nourishes lust? You see something beautiful. So from your 6 sense bases, each of the sense base can bring about a rising of lust. Okay? And then when it arises lust, he says the mind is like you put dye in it. When you put dye in it, then your mind is not clear. When you need to buy so many to satisfy your lust, he says you are in the debt. You are in debt. Okay? So the water is the dye, and that the effect, is in depth. And when it's hatred, he says you are like a boiling water. You are boiling the water. And that the effect of it is that you get disease. Sometimes you get high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, etc. You get disease. And all this out of ignorance. Sloth and torpor, he says, is like algae and weeds laden. And when you are laden down by algae and weeds, you are like in prison. And when restlessness and worry, you are like the wind blowing on the surface of the water. Wind blown. And when it's wind blown, right, you are restless and worry, you are like a slave. Then when you are doubt, he says the water is like murky. You can't see, but he says you are like a man lost in a desert. So in the 5 hindrances, it says your mind is dyed and boiling and laden and wind blown and murky. How to see? How to see this? How to be equanimous? How to see the Dhamma? If you don't see the Dhamma, you don't perceive impermanence. You must perceive impermanence, otherwise your life has been lived in vain. If you do not see the Dhamma, and the Dhamma is the 4th tetrad, which says about impermanence, fading, cessation, and relinquishment, if you have not seen this, then life has been lived in vain. So you must see this. The Buddha says this Dhamma can be seen in the body, the feelings, the mind, and the mind objects. And so you have to strive to see this. If you don't see impermanent, then life will go on in samsara, suffering again and again, and mind you, it will be worse than COVID, right? So mindfulness of death is something that you have to contemplate so that you will have an urgency to practice. So with this COVID, you should have this urgency to practice, and with this seclusion that is provided, that you are required to be secluded, you should seclude to yourself to see the Dhamma. To see the Dhamma so that you would not live in vain. So here we want you to see that these 5 hindrances will put you in debt. If you lust after so many things, it will put you in debt. You will be diseased. You will be in prison. You will be in a slave, and you are lost in a desert. So you are a slave in the prison or the desert. That is very bad. Now you have disease. You can't even work very hard, and you're working in a diseased state, and you are full of debts. So do you want this? So the Buddha gives you analogies to wake us up, to wake us up. Is it true or not? If you lust, you will be in debt. If you are angry, you'll get sick. Okay? And you have sloth and torpor, you can't move. You're just sleeping there. So you must not be that. Or you're restless, very agitated. Then you are a slave, working from morning to night. And if you are in doubt of the Dhamma, of the Buddha, of the Arya Sangha, then you have to have more faith in it. And by practicing and investigating, then you will be able to cut away the doubt. So this is the thing, okay? The nourishing is the beautiful, the aversion, the laziness, the unsettled mind, the doubtful things. And so, in order to de-nourish this, you have to contemplate foulness. Foulness of the sense objects. Foulness, so from the top of our head to the bottom of our souls, we have head hair. If our hair drop into the food, do you want to eat it? And then you have your snot, your vomiters, Your urine, your feces, is it so clean? You go to the toilet, you need to flush, right? Why don't flush? Because it's foul. It's from our insides that this come out. What's so desirable about this? So you have to see, you are holding on to a pot of feces. So this is what it is. Then if there is hatred, it's like constricted mind, then you have to develop kindness. If people cannot develop loving kindness, like love is quite difficult, then you must be kind. When you are kind, kind to yourself. Because you don't want to have disease. If you want anger, you are being unkind to yourself. It's the worst. You are like an enemy, doing this to yourself. You are your own worst enemy if you are having anger. Because you are going to create disease for yourself. And when you have disease, who is going to suffer? Who is going to be disabled? Who is the one who have to depend on others? Right, so do not be unkind to yourself. So the Buddha said the right thoughts, avyapada, no ill will, and no cruelty. Then when you are sloth and torpor, you need to arouse yourself. How do you arouse yourself? Time is passing by. The death can come anytime. Don't waste your time. All you have is just time only, nothing else. And in the time, you have to endeavor to complete the journey. So this, you must arouse yourself. You must endeavor. You must put the energy. The Buddha says these last words during his Mahaparinibbana. He says strive. Strive means arouse, endeavor, energy. So you must live with a life that is striving to do and understand the Dhamma. So restlessness requires serenity, tranquility. So you have to be secluded, quiet. And then for doubt, you have to investigate. Right. So these are the 5 hindrances. And so these are considered unwholesome. If you have them, you are poor in the Dhamma. Right. So he says that we have to try to get rid of the unwholesome. We have to pack them all in. You have to exert the right effort. So in the Noble Eightfold Path, there is the right effort, there is the right mindfulness, and there is the right concentration. So in the 7 factors of enlightenment, there are the nourishing factors. So the nourishing factors, you have good friends, you listen to the Sangha, you listen to the Dhamma, you have increased faith, and you have careful attention. Careful attention to remove the unwholesome and to develop the wholesome. And you then develop the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Mindfulness of the body, feelings, mind, and mind objects. To see them arise and cease. And then you will restrain yourself. Restrain yourself is very important because volition drives you. The volition of craving drives you like a horse. But the person who restrains the horse requires a lot of energy. So you have to develop restraint so that you have good conduct in body, speech, and mind. To overcome your hindrances. Then you can develop the 7 factors of enlightenment and smash the ignorance. So in this, it's called the wholesomeness. In this wholesomeness, then you can cut the chain of the samsara. And you denourish the craving. So we have this nourishing part of it. And of course, if you have the other part, you will not have mindfulness. So in the 7 factors of enlightenment, you require to have the 4 foundation of mindfulness. And it has to be unremitting. That means you are practicing all the time. Right. You have to investigate the Dhamma. So this is called beat well. So you have to see whatever you are doing, is it blameless or blameful? And that whether this is inferior or superior. Is this dark or bright? Is this wholesome or unwholesome? So this is what you mean you have to investigate. You have to investigate wholesomeness and unwholesomeness. So blameless, blameful, inferior, superior, wholesome, unwholesome, dark or bright. Dark or bright in terms of the mind. The energy, you have to arouse yourself, endeavor, and put in the energy. Right. Rapture, for the basis of the rapture, there are many bases for the rapture, like you have mindfulness of breathing, your Brahma Viharas, or your jhanas. And these are concentration. Tranquility, same, of the mind and body. And this concentration has the quality of serenity and non-dispersal. Equanimity, same as rapture. You can develop rapture equanimity in this way. So this mindfulness investigation, all these are similar, one will progress to the other. So the 7 factors of enlightenment, if you do mindfulness of any of the 4 foundations, and so mindfulness of breathing, fulfill the 7 factors of enlightenment. So when you have mindfulness, factor of enlightenment as a mind object, okay, as a mind object. So we say as a mind object, right? This mind object, we just say mind object, then you can say like hindrances. He said hindrances is like a small seed that grow up into a large tree and circle and split the tree. So this is a hindrance, it's a small seed. So similarly, the mind object, hindrance as well as the 7 factors of enlightenment, this small thing, this object can arise, AID, increase and develop. So both of them, this can arise, increase, develop to unwholesomeness, and this can arise, increase and develop to wholesomeness. So when you see this, see the mindfulness factor as a mind object. So when you say, what is this mindfulness as a mind object? Our mind, when you finish the 3rd tetrad, is a smart mind. You can just ask it, just like a smartphone. You can just ask it, what is the mind object of mindfulness, factor of enlightenment? And you sit quietly, patiently, and it will appear to you. When it appears to you, you continue to increase and develop it. When you increase and develop it, it will, when you're investigating that, when you're looking at it, it will just flow down. If you cannot do that, then you bring it up and say, what is this? But you must have practiced before. That means you have practiced unremitting mindfulness. So my requirement for you today, for the meditation, is that you stay on the subject, on the mindfulness throughout the tetrads. And then we will practice the 7 factors of enlightenment for the 4th tetrad. So I think it's about time that we practice. This is the questions will come later. Maybe we just have 20 minutes of questions later. So we just practice. The meditation is a DIY, and here we will just practice and just go with the flow. So it says, the Buddha says, that if you listen to the Dhamma, your 5 hindrances are removed. Because your mind has no lobha, has no dosa, has no moha, is not constricted, is not distracted. It may be elevated, it may be joyous, it may be concentrated, and sometimes it can be liberated. So when you listen to the Dhamma, it has that effects. So here we want to then go into the 16 steps of the Ānāpānasati, and I will just guide you along, and that we look into the 5 hindrances and the 7 factors of enlightenment. Okay? Okay. So to benefit, we just start the practice again. Go to your usual space. Put your mindfulness in front of you. Put your back straight. Your mindfulness in front of you, as in parimukha, or the face, where you guard your eyes, nose, mouth, ears. So mindfulness in front is good. When your mindfulness in front, you breathe in and out. Step 1, breathe in long. You know you are breathing in long. Breathe out long. You know you are breathing out long. This is a stage easy to have sloth and torpor. If there's sloth and torpor, is it present or is it absent? You carry on breathing in and breathing out. breathe in short, you know you're breathing in short. Breathing out short, you know you're breathing out short. Be attentive to each and every breath. Step 3, breathing in, experience the entire breathing process. Breathing out, experience the entire breathing out process. Be clear of its arising and its ending, especially the ending and the pause that follows. Appreciate the entire process, beginning to its end, pause, and the following breath. Savor the breath, experience the breath. The only mind object is just breathing in and breathing out, nothing else. Step 4, breathing in, calm the breath or the bodily formation. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, calm. Second tetrad. Breathing in, experience the bodily sensation. Breathing out, experience the bodily sensation. Generally pleasant. Beyond every breath. Gently, no straining. Step 6. Breathing in, experience the sensation in the mind. Breathing out, experience the sensation in the mind. usually pleasant. Step 7, breathing in, experience the mental formations or any sensations you felt. Breathing out, experience the mental formations or any sensations you feel. So these sensations arise and fade, arise and fade. Not within your control. You are just watching them. So how can it be yours? They arise and they fade. Where they arise, where they go. Which part of the body they arise and where they go. In front, behind. You can't control them. They go as they, according to the conditions. You just breathe in and there's experience. Breathe out and experience. Can you see feelings as impermanent? Can you see sensations as impermanent? Can you see mental formations as impermanent? Breathe in, experience the mental formations. Some of these formations are what the Buddha says are like winds, coming in different directions. When we cling, we have to exert a greater force than all this to overcome, to bring about aggregate of clinging. So that's why the aggregate of clinging is suffering. Sense these sensations as they come and go, impermanent. Beyond your control, they go accordingly. They are not yours, not mine. So there are these sensations which we like to calm down. So we breathe in and we breathe out. Breathing in, calm the mental formations. Just calm them down. Breathing out, calm the mental formations. So now both the bodily and the mental formations are calm. Then you go to step 9. Breathing in, experience the mind. Breathing out, experience the mind. When you experience, you savor. You also experience its changing luminosity. Its changing brightness and darkness. Breathing in, you can say, be glad. Breathing out, be glad. Then breathing in, you just concentrate on that gladdened mind. Just look at the gladdened mind. Breathing in, concentrate. And breathing out, concentrate. Step 12. Breathing in, liberate the mind. Breathing out, liberate the mind. Doesn't matter if your mind is not liberated. Just look at it even-mindedly. Liberation of the mind means it's free, there's no border, it's borderless. Now we try to do the 7 factors of enlightenment. Breathing in, you check out what is the mindfulness mind object or factor of enlightenment. Just ask, what is mindfulness factor of enlightenment? Is it present? If it's present, you just watch it. Keep your mind on it. So it arises and develops on its own. If you practice this at home, allows it to just flow from one to the other. But because there's different levels, we will just call each up. You can call up the mind object or the factor of enlightenment of investigation. You just say investigation. So you can see this mind object also arise and fade or develop accordingly beyond your control. It's not mine, not I. It can be developed fully. So as one fades, the other arises. You can ask now, what is the energy factor of enlightenment as a mind object? the rapture enlightenment factor, the tranquility enlightenment factor, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in the concentration enlightenment factor. Then the equanimity enlightenment factor. So this is what the Buddha says, purification of the mind. Notice that enlightenment factors also arise and fade. They can be arise and develop fully, and then it fades to the next enlightenment factor. So with the equanimity enlightenment factor, the mind is clearer. Now look at the breath or the body. Is the breath permanent? See the entire breath as in step 3. Does the breath ends? And when it ends, during the pause, can you experience release? Now experience feelings, mental formations. Breathe in, experience mental formations or sensations. Are feelings permanent? Are sensations permanent? Are perceptions permanent? Are mental formations permanent? Is consciousness permanent? That which is attending to whatever you are observing, the attention that you're looking at, that's consciousness. Reflect on the mind. What your experience of the mind, has it changed? Is the mind permanent? Mind consciousness is that which attend to the mind object. It arises and ceases, arises and ceases. Reflect on all the mind objects that you have done. They arose and they fade away. So are mind objects permanent? So there's no need to hold to anything. You let go of holding. So we're not holding, we experience the bliss of release. Okay, now it's about 10 minutes to 5, so we slowly come back to the bum on the seat, to the entire body. You slowly take your time to open your eyes, but in this state is a good state to reflect on the four foundations, on the body, feelings, mind, and mind objects. You can slowly open your eyes.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. We have several questions.
Okay. It's important for you all to reflect, okay? So not be a laptop student. That means the Buddha says when you get up, you just fall away from your laps. So you must try to reflect on the teachings and the practice. Okay, now you start the question.
Someone commented, it's hard to remain calm in the face of stupidity. If I don't let anything affect me, then it's like I'm feeling nothing or caring about nothing. I feel like I must stand up for injustice and can't turn a blind eye to ignorance. Any advice?
Okay. So you felt that not having feelings doesn't make you alive.
He also asked, so should we not feel anything?
So there is a sutta by Sariputta, and Sariputta says, having no feelings is the best feelings. When something is empty, you consider it empty or is full of oxygen. So if the space is empty, but it's full of oxygen, or 21% of oxygen. So when it is empty, when you say no feelings, it's full of bliss. So when you have feelings and you are drawn by your feelings, drawn by your pleasant feelings or drawn by an unpleasant feelings, so justice. So for example, you want to right the wrong of the world. If you are emotional, do you think people will hear you? Unlikely people will hear you. People only see the anger in you. If you want to put your point across, you must put your point across mindfully. So you require your mindfulness. So we have climate change. So it is important that we address these problems. But we must do it mindfully and not with anger. We have to address the wrongs in the world. But if we are so angry, how can we talk and bring about change? So it's very important that even if you want to address any problem, even in the family, if you do it with anger, the recipient will only be afraid or would ignore you or throw back another bad eggs at you. So there will be this harmony. So you have to be a very skillful person to be able to bring about change without losing your cool. So it is important how to be a leader. And the leader must be the ones in the mundane world to make the mundane changes. What we are talking about is spiritual happiness. We will mature accordingly to our own development. You will get angry according to your attachments. It will be natural. But if you train yourself more, then the anger doesn't come out so much that you can bring about effective changes. Because the people that stay around a calm person has a calm and harmonious family, society, and the country at large. It goes that way. So they say the place where the Arahants, the Aryas are a very peaceful place. So you have to be the one experiencing the changes in yourself, how being mindful, and don't let the aversion or the hatred arise. It's for your own good and the world's good. If it's agitated, the water is boiling, it spills over and hurt others, and you don't even know because there's the ignorance. We want to have a harmonious society for a win-win situation for everyone. And this has to be done calmly. But it is also on the background of greed, hatred, and delusion of the people in the world. And how to tame them, we must tame ourselves. If we can't tame ourselves, how to tame others? So we have to start with ourselves. And no feeling doesn't mean a dead zombie, but a fully blissful, realized being. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. In step 11, what do we concentrate on? What does the mind focus on?
So when you say we are in the third tetrad, so the third tetrad is about the citta, it's about the mind. So when you concentrate on the mind, on the gladdened mind. So the concentration is concentrate on the gladdened mind, then it liberates itself. Because concentration has a very powerful, it's a power. So we have the concentration faculty, which can develop into a concentration power that allows liberation. So it is to the mind. The concentration is on the mind. And the mind is gladdened, it's so easy to concentrate. And you don't have to have a lot of effort in it because it's joyous, it's gladdened.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. Does meditation on death means imagining a dead body as a meditation object?
Meditation on death, according to the Buddha, mindfulness of death, he asked the bhikkhus, how do you all meditate or be mindful of death? Some bhikkhu says, I will meditate on death maybe for a day. Others says half a day. Others they say, as long as I take the alms food or a mouthful, and on one breath or one breath in and one breath out. So the Buddha says the ones who say that they are mindful of one breath in and one breath out, or one swallow, are the diligent students. All others are not diligent. He says when you are mindful of one breath, so that means there's a arising and a ceasing of that breath. So in the step 3, when you experience the entire breath, there's a start and there is an end of the breath. In that you see arising and cessation. That is the depth of one breath. So you see the depth of one breath and you see the cessation of one swallow. And being mindful of one swallow, one breath, that is being mindfulness of death. So if you are mindful of death, so when death comes, you are mindful. Your mind is on the breath, and you're also aware of your feelings. So when the feelings end at death, so when the oil and wick no more, the flame goes off. And then there will be no becoming. So you see it ends because it continues to breathe again and again because we have still this life. But you can see it will end when there is no more vital formations, no more heat. It will end then and there. You see it again and again, your 5 aggregates, your body, feelings, perception, mental formation, consciousness, all end. Then that's it. So like Upalavana, she will look at the flame and then she pull it down and then that's the end. So this is what it means by mindfulness of death, mindfulness of a flame. Our life is like a flame.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. Dr. Ng, are the 7 factors of enlightenment a linear progression, development, and attainment?
No need to use the word attainment because everybody can practice. So it's all a habit of conditioning. So this progressiveness is that one will lead to the other because you take your own time. So that you practice the 7 factors of enlightenment, you will notice that as you do one, it will slowly move to the next, to the next, to the next. But also Sariputta, in his discourse on clothes, he says he can put on this clothes of each mindfulness factor of enlightenment or any other factor of enlightenment according to his wishes. So he can call it up, like he can call up the mindfulness factor of enlightenment. And then he said he wears these clothes for the whole morning. So that means he will develop this fully as it is. And say he can change clothes. So like actors and actresses on a stage who can take up a mind object and exhibit it. So you can take up a mind object and develop it fully. And because this factor of enlightenment is immeasurable, that means there's no boundary. It is just like the Brahma Vihara. So it arises and ceases. And he knows when it arises and when it ceases according to the conditions. So the attainment is you decide how long you want to experience it. So this is Sariputta's take on it, and he says that these factors of enlightenment, because the mind has perceived it already, you can develop it further. The mind object grows, aids, arise, increase, develop. So it is also PDF. So this point factor of enlightenment can develop fully. So this develop fully. So this is it can be done. So he asks you to see it as a mind object, and that it is a wholesome mind object. How to develop it? So we all know mind objects. Like we said, you see something, where is it in your mind field? So your mind screen can be just a mind screen. It can be two-dimensional as you see a television, or it can be three-dimensional as you experience the mind. So the mind can be experienced in two-dimensional, three-dimensional, and immeasurable.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. Is it true if we cling to mind objects or mental formations, it is difficult to attain jhanas?
If you are clinging to something, jhanas is one-pointedness, and one-pointedness means you are unified in the mind. So you are clinging to something, so you cannot get into another thing. So you answer your own question. But you can actually, you can try very hard. That means you enter, and then when you are in the mind base, you can, if it is not fully developed, you can see that clinging is a mind object outside the mind. So you can see the mind and the mind object. You can see a bit of the mental, the mind object of clinging. So you can very differentiate that this is mind object and this is mind when it is not fully one-pointedness.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. Someone else asked, is there a difference on how we use the breath as mindfulness versus samatha practice? While doing mindfulness on the breath and when we place attention on the joy of the mind, could the concentration evolve into jhana? Thank you so much.
So we all talk about the simile of the lamb. I forgot the sutta. So in the simile of the lamb, the Buddha says that if you do mindfulness of breathing, probably is the mindfulness of breathing, you will experience bent. That means your body and your eyes not tired, right? And then you have MIA, missing in action, means your memory and intentions are abandoned. So your past is abandoned, your future is abandoned. Then you have RUM. You are in the middle, neither repulsive or unrepulsive. And that you develop jhanas 1 to 9. Because you are no longer distracted. You are in the middle, you then develop jhanas 1 to 9. And that in the end, your feelings end at death. And they end there, and no more. So this is the simile of the lamb for mindfulness of breathing. I believe it is in Ānāpānasati. Right. So, what is that?
SN 54.8.
Okay, so jhana 1 and to 9 is a natural development of mindfulness of breathing. Because your Noble Eightfold Path, the last is the right concentration. And the right concentration is one-pointedness. Because you are no longer distracted by memories or intentions or repulsiveness or unrepulsiveness. You remain in the middle path so you can get into the one-pointedness. But the Buddha says until 8, if you do not get too attached, because the cessation is the 9. 9 is a cessation of perception and feeling. So the benefits of mindfulness of breathing is that you are very mindful of death. So at the end, the feelings end at death. There is no more wanting elsewhere. So it ends at death. So there's no more craving. There is no more becoming. So it ends. The feelings end at death. There's none of the others already. Okay.
Someone would like to know what's the difference between meditation on the mind and meditation on the mind objects.
Oh, meditation on the mind is the citta, which is the third tetrad. And then the fourth tetrad is on the mind objects, or it's called Dhamma. Dhamma is in the phenomena and it's mind objects. So we have to clarify the mind objects are the 5 hindrances, the 5 aggregates of clinging, right? And then the 6 sense bases, and the 7 factors of enlightenment, and the 4 noble truths.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. May I know, please, how do we practice Satipatthana in daily life apart from doing meditation?
So we have like integrated the Ānāpānasati with the rest, right? We have integrated the Ānāpānasati, the 16 steps, with the Mahasatipatthana, the 4th tetrad. So fourth tetrad would be, or the 4th foundation. The 4th foundation is of the mind objects. So in daily life, you have to be mindful of your body, of your breathing, of your postures, of your activities, whatever you do. In every encounter, you are mindful whether you are causing suffering to others or to yourself. So this part here, investigation, so this is not like only when you're sitting, you know. Look at this, when it says investigate. Whatever you are contacting, whether you are doing a blameless or blameful, it may not be the 5 precepts. It may be issues that's iffy. But you must be able to discern what you are doing, is it harmful or not, to yourself, to others, and the society at large. Whether what you are doing is inferior or superior, whether this is dark or bright, or is wholesome or unwholesome. So this investigation, it doesn't mean just sitting down. Investigation is you are daily activities you are encountering. With each encounter, you must be mindful, and you must be investigating, and you must exert yourself. You cannot let, let sleeping dogs lie and let the thing fester. So if you do it, you will be happy and concentrated. Then whatever outcomes, you have tried your best already. You have tried your best, and there are certain conditions that you may not produce the effects you want, but you have tried your best. So it doesn't mean this whole process of learning the Ānāpānasati is just for the sitting purposes. It's for daily life. Because we are not just sitting, we are walking, standing, encountering context. And that's why the 6 sense bases, the 6 sense bases. So we are always moving in an environment. And we are just a body, a sensory body with the 6 sense bases, encountering all the external and internal factors, giving us a feeling. So we have to practice accordingly. We are, responding but not reacting to the context. Oh, this one down here have a context.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. We shall end the lesson here.
Okay.
We've run out of time.
How many more questions?
There are many more questions, but I don't think we can answer all of them.
Shall we end at 5:30? Then you might answer all the questions.
Okay, we will take a few more questions. Someone asked, may I know what is the difference between passion and craving?
Passion and craving.
Yeah, for example, I'm very passionate in my daily work or business, and in practicing Buddhism, I'm very present to nothing good or bad lasts forever, like the passing cloud. Is this passionate living part of craving leading to suffering?
Your mask make it very indistinct what you say. You just talk about.
Someone just want to know the difference between passion and craving. He's passionate in his daily work, and then practicing Buddhism, he is present to nothing good or bad lasts forever. So is this passionate living part of craving leading to suffering?
Oh, okay. So we must distinguish. We want people to be passionate about their work because you are living for 8 hours or even more when you are working. If you are not passionate about your work, then if you are a zombie in your work, then you are not contributing, but just making a livelihood. Okay? So for the money. But when you are passionate about your work, then you can contribute to society. So we will applaud passion for the work. But we must also say that passion for the work is for good livelihood. Okay? But in the end, we say at the end is the Noble Eightfold Path. Now this passion about work, you are passionate about it, will bring that contribution. But what we are saying is that if you are so passionate as you ignore your family, you ignore your own health, you ignore society, and that you ignore the subordinates in your climb for your the 8 vicissitudes of life, then that is not healthy. So we will balance it according to your own development. We will say that in the end, the most important is to have spiritual development. And we would say that this passion towards sense desires, we want to emphasize that this passion is against we have disenchanted with sense pleasures or views or becoming. That means if you quarrel over views, then that is also not healthy. We don't want to be embroiled with views. We don't want to embroiled with sense pleasures. We don't want to embroiled with the future and not living in the present. So this is what it means not to be tainted, not to keep touching the things that brings about taints.
I think you have answered this question before, but I think this person may be new. May I know if we still focus on the breath after the first tetrad?
Yes, we focus. This is called mindfulness of breathing. So we will focus on the breath. That means we are mindful of the breath throughout the 4 tetrads.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. Can we start off with loving kindness meditation before moving to mindfulness of the breath?
Sure. The Buddha always encouraged metta. So if you want to do metta, you can do metta. You can just smile. Before you start your mindfulness of breathing, just smile, and then that's enough. Instead of like the whole long Karaniya Metta Sutta. But it's okay, whatever it is. If you smile, you will light up. So it's important to do metta, so you won't be disturbed, the Buddha says.
How do we remember the steps when we practice on our own?
Oh, you have to remember, you must read the Ānāpānasati Sutta, MN118. So why we are trying to encourage you all to read the suttas? Because these are the teachings of the Buddha. These teachings of the Buddha, he is the incomparable, unsurpassed teacher, and he's accessible to us through the teachings. So you have to read the suttas again and again and again. We are just broadcasters. The only teacher is the Buddha. We are just the disciples of the Buddha. And if you are a disciple of the Buddha, if you don't read the suttas, if you don't remember his teaching, does it make you a disciple? So you have to work on it. You have to be diligent. You must read the suttas because this is the teachings of the Buddha.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. How, by chanting of Bhujanga Sutta, help in the healing based on the Mahakassapa, Mahamoggallana, and Mahachunda Bhujanga Sutta?
It is not by chanting, it is by experiencing. So the chanting itself, so when Buddha was sick, he asked Venerable Mahachunda, who was a brother of Venerable Sariputta. So when he was sick, he asked Venerable Mahachunda, can you chant the Bhujanga for me? So when the Mahachunda chant, it is a guided meditation. So when he tells you about the mindfulness, he will just develop into the mindfulness enlightenment factor, and you will feel his whole mind fully developed. And then he will just roll on to the investigation, enlightenment factor, and will roll on to the energy, to the rapture, to the tranquility, to the concentration and the equanimity. So the mind is so well developed, and detached from the body, that the body heals itself. The mind not, when we are sick, our mind is like attached to the body. But when the mind is fully developed by the Bhujangas, then the body heals by itself. So this is how it works. So it's by chanting. Only if you experience it, then you would get healing through it. It's not by chanting, it's not by lip service, it's by experiencing it. Just like when you say perception of impermanence, that we have perception of impermanence, you must see impermanence in order to have perception of it. If you have perception of non-self, you must see non-self before you can have perception of non-self. So this is like the Bhujangas are when the 7 factors of enlightenment are developed fully, then they know how it is, how the healing goes. But anyway, if it's by faith alone that this Bhujangas heals, then it may be a way whereby it heals by the faith, because faith can become a power.
Thank you, Dr. Ng. We shall take the last question. Could you please confirm that there are indeed no more 4 khandhas plus volition in jhana 4, and there are only a total introspection, mindfulness, and equanimity in jhana 4? Albeit it's still a form-based and no remnant of any desires?
Jhana 4, I didn't do any of it here in the mindfulness of breathing. If you read the steps of the jhana 4, it is part of the rupa jhanas. Rupa jhanas, and some people can have the rupa jhanas but not realized. So if you say that the rupa jhanas, we have the Alara Kalama, we have the Uddaka Ramaputta, both of them have developed to the arupa jhanas but have not realized. So if they have not realized, they will still have this craving, clinging, and becoming. So the jhanas is not a gateway, not to say that you have the jhanas means everything is extinguished. It is extinguished only when there is no more craving and no more intention, so that this ignorance and craving are ceased completely, so there's no arising of consciousness. If there's no arising of consciousness landing anywhere, there is no more becoming. Because that consciousness, because there's no more ignorance, so there's no more intentions to bring about a becoming. The technical part, I'm not a jhana person. I don't want to talk about jhanas. I'm talking about mindfulness of breathing. So we all know that jhana 4 has no pain nor pleasure, but it is a rupa jhana. It has mindfulness with equanimity developed fully. Finish?
Thank you so much, Dr. Ng. Shall share merits with the devas and all sentient beings, followed by our departed relatives and friends.
Etavata cha amhehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etavata cha amhehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe buddha anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Etavata cha amhehi sampatam punya sampatam sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Idam me nyatidam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idam me nyatidam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Idam me nyatidam hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo.
Closing homage, let's pay homage to the Triple Gem.
Arahan Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddham Bhagavantam Avivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhamman Namasami. Supatipano Bhagavato Sanghaksangho Sangham Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.